I'm in the mood tonight.
No, Dolly house can't work when rude girl at work. Lazy boy, I fig it up and splur. Cha! Loving a guan, it's just a joy. We spend quality time with the boy. Me love the pain, but feel the rain. Like when we a pop a champagne. Come my body ever ready when you get me off, you pet me and cherish me like say me is a pet. When you get me now regret it, make sure you have your money broke man that gets me upset. Cause the last boy will look me on a brag and a boss and him liquor while it's still not ready yet. Feel me body ever ready and me know me at the base. Only rich man can get me flex. Me love a man who treat me good, protect me like a treasure. Keep me safe through any storm and any weather. Every day him just treat me better and better. Wife's a seek a trendsetter. Him love it when we dance about love can't run out. This is something fit about a body a paradise, ever nice. Good love make him feel nice. Him love it when me dance about love can't run out. This is something fit about a body a paradise, ever nice. Good love make him feel nice. Come my body ever ready when you get me happy, pet me and cherish me like say me is a pet. When you get me now regret it, make sure you have your money broke man that get me upset. Cause the last boy will look me on a brag and a boast and him liquor while it's still not ready yet. Feel me body ever ready and me know me at the base. Only rich man can get me flex. Loving a guan, it's just a joy. We spend quality time with the boy. Me love the pain, but feel the rain. Like when we a pop a champagne. And my body ever ready when you get me happy, pet me and cherish me like say me is a pet. When you get me now regret it, make sure you have your money broke man that get me upset. Cause the last boy will look me and a brag and a boast and him liquor while it's still not ready yet. Feel me body ever ready and me know me at the base. Only rich man can get me flex. Me love a man who treat me good, protect me like a treasure. Keep me safe through any storm and any weather. Every day him just treat me better and better. Wife's a seek a trendsetter. Him love it when we dance about love can't run out. This is something fit about a body a paradise, ever nice. Good love make him feel nice. Him love it when we dance about love can't run out. This is something fit about a body a paradise, ever nice. Good love make him feel nice. Come my body ever ready when you get me happy, pet me and cherish me like say me is a pet. When you get me now regret it, make sure you have your money broke man that get me upset. Cause the last boy will look me and a brag and a boast and him liquor while it's still not ready yet. Feel me body ever ready and me know me at the base. Only rich man can get me.
BOSS Radio, BOSS Radio, BOSS Radio, BOSS Radio, BOSS.
BOSS Radio, Southside Bosses, its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show host or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the site or the radio station, and opinions between talk show hosts may conflict. This site does not endorse anything as the truth. That you will have to judge for yourself. But we try to speak the truth on the owner's behalf and reserve the right to question the supposed truth. In this time of misinformation, government-controlled media, and government corruption, it is sometimes hard to get to the truth, but we must try. It is not our intention to libel, discriminate, make hate, or annoy anyone. We believe that it is our constitutional First Amendment right of free speech to voice our opinions and our duty to the Constitution and country to expose the truth. This site takes no responsibility for the opinions of others and the postings of comments in chat rooms or forum posts.
At the top tonight, for the first time, we are getting a look at some of the images from a video taken of what is being called a racist attack on a black teenager in Woodsboro. The incident happened on Halloween night. 2 of 3 teens said to be involved were indicted last month and now face charges.
Today, one of the accused teens went before a judge at the Refugio County Courthouse for an arraignment hearing. And late tonight, our Bill Churchwell was able to view that video the group reportedly took of their own crime. He joins us now. So, Bill, what does that video show?
Rudy, Leslie, the disturbing video we obtained helps paint a picture of the events that reportedly unfolded Halloween night. The video is about a minute long. We will not play it, but we will show you some of those still images from the video and describe the moments leading up to the incident. The first thing you hear is an unidentified girl's voice laughing as another individual is seen on camera wearing what appears to be a white sheet with a pointed hood, resembling a KKK robe. The victim, a young black teen we have chosen not to include in these images, is seen walking backwards saying, "That's not funny. Stop." Off camera, the girl can be heard saying, "If you say the names, they're gonna tase you." You can then hear the zapping sound of a stun gun multiple times in the video, the girl instructing others to, quote, "get closer." You can then hear again the electric crackle. As they get closer, the zapping sound gets louder. The girl then says, "Surround him, surround him." At this point, a second person appears, also dressed in a white sheet, holding what appears to be a stun gun. The black teenager, who has a friend with him, continues to walk away from the aggressors and says, "Chill." The girl off camera says, "KKK." One of the hooded figures approaches the teen and fires off the stun gun device again, appearing to make contact. The teen verbally reacts with a moan. The girl's chuckle erupts into full-blown laughter as the teen says "chill" one last time and walks away. The video ends there. Both 17-year-olds accused in the crime will be charged as adults. They face charges of organized criminal activity and tampering with evidence because they are accused of burning those KKK robes. They are also facing a hate crime enhancement. 3 News caught up with the attorney representing the victim in this case following Thursday's hearing.
If you dress up as a Klansman and you go out and look for a black person, you're doing it with the sole intent of not only terrorizing that person, but you're doing it from the historical context of understanding that the Klan terrorized black people for hundreds of years in the United States of America.
And tonight, as for the third person described by the attorney as the ringleader, we know she is a minor, and at this point, there has not been an update on that case. Back to you.
As Mr. Flavor, I am proud to bring to you Mr. E, the Music Maestro.
2022. And we are seeing a new breed of new generation right then and there of the racism that our children are going to have to face in these upcoming years, because y'all said that if we don't talk about it, then it would die. I know we've been talking about it, but as you see, this had to be brought on. See, my opinion, it had to be brought on one of two ways, and we're going to be talking about both those ways today. You know, this is your boy, Mr. E Boss of the Southside Bosses, coming to y'all here live on Talking But Ain't Saying Nothing with my beautiful co-host, Miss E Squared, in the building. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to put out the disclaimer. Forgive her, because I'm nursing her and she'll be back. But you may hear that every now and again. She's breathing. Trust me. I ain't did nothing to her. I ain't poisoned none of her shit. None of that. I want to make that clear. Go ahead.
I'm alive.
Already. So you know what it is over here when we talk about Talking But Ain't Saying Nothing. We talk about the incidences that's happening in the real world right now, the current events that's going on. And right now, as you can see, there's so much that's going on in the real world. We have the young man that was killed up there in Minnesota by the police, staying in his homeboy's house, sleeping on his couch. He came up with his legally registered gun. And the police didn't even give him a chance to relinquish the gun, put it down. They, when you wake somebody up, they discombobulated. You know what I said? But I understand why he had that gun, especially in the world that what you just heard. These young white boys were pretty much reenacting. I ain't gonna say reenacting, actually personifying new age racism as if this was 1943, 1945, you know what I'm saying, 1952, 1956, so even our favorite year, 1963, you know what I'm saying. It seems like this is new, a new breed of it. So this obviously came to me one of two ways. Either their parents taught them about it, and they raised them to be like that, or they probably didn't want to talk, because I know it's a lot of white people in there that just don't want to talk about it, so they don't talk about it in a household. And these children probably went to school, because these are teenagers. They probably went to high school. They done read some shit in the history books, and they was like, you know what? Because they don't teach it the right way in history in school. They they perception of it that they put on. This is why they don't want to look into critical race theory. This is why Black history is actually structured to only 28 days out of the year, when Black history was the basis of the United States society.
Or these kids could just be acting from what they see at home and what they've been around.
But that's the first part. That's what I'm saying. They parents. That's the first part I was saying. Their parents taught them how to do that. You know what I'm saying? And raised them that way. But the second part is also they didn't know anything about it because their parents didn't want. Because there's some white parents.
On that part, I'm not gonna say that people don't know anymore. People do know, and like you said, they just don't talk about it. But that doesn't mean that they don't know. So right now in 2022, especially like you were about to say about the critical race theory and how you're not supposed to talk about slavery and things like that, you can't tell me that somebody, especially a white person in America, does not know about slavery, the Klansmen, and things and prejudice.
I can tell you that when these are children who if it's never been taught to them until they reach school, until they reach junior high, until they reach high school, because it's not in elementary curriculum. My children would have never known anything about the black paradigm at the age they're at. They would have been just now getting introduced to it, because now they're coming up and they're asking me questions like, Dad, I thought you said such and such, such and such. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. You seen it in his, you studied it, you researched it yourself. You seen it for yourself. Yeah, I know, but my teacher just said, what did I tell you, son? I told you they was going to tell you something like that. That's because of how they're constructing curriculum. And the way that they teach the curriculum, they don't want you to look at the United States as being the bad guy, but you gotta understand that they are the ones that perpetrated these acts. If it wasn't for the laws that the people, even before there was the United States, even when it was just a Continental Congress, and it was just not the Declaration of, before the Declaration of Independence, it was the what was the document that we went by? I'm losing it. It was up under the Continental Congress. I'll remember in a minute. But even before we even constructed the Declaration of Independence, where we were just the several states, we had race involved. There was race laws in 1600s before there was even a United States. And it was perpetrated by the same men who helped create the United States. So, if the United States carry on the torch of dealing in stolen property, do that make them a criminal, or do that make them exempt because they are now the country we live in?
No, they're still criminals.
They're still criminals. So what they're doing now is trying to make you not look at the United States as a criminal, but just as the men who is controlling the United States as a criminal at the time. That way you don't look at what they're doing now and correlate it to what they've done in the past.
Which is all the exact same thing.
Exactly. And exactly what I'm saying with these young two white, obviously racist boys. They dressed up in a hoodie, white hoodie, in a white robe, as if they were in the Klan.
See, you're giving them too much credit of not knowing. No, I believe all three of them are in the know.
I never said they didn't know. Okay. What I said was how they learned, how they acknowledge that they have now. Yes, they know of what the history. That's why they look at it.
They've been doing it all the time.
No, they looking at it as if this is how,
This is how what?
This is how it's taught in school. It's not taught in school like it was a bad thing. It was taught in school like this is what happened. So they're taking the ideals, they're looking more into it, they're getting introduced to races. Tell me this, why do you think it took so long to see these racist statues, these racist Confederate statues torn down for so long? And you know what, we just got a guest in the building right now. We're gonna let them introduce themselves.
Hey, it's Kat. I just want to add to this because I'm listening to this and I'm taking it a little bit deeper. Is if a lot of times that some of our white Americans do not value their history, so they don't teach it to their children. But this information is made available through movies, internet, social media. So they idolize the idea of what their past has presented. So they act
that
out
part. Exactly.
So that's where you get the idolization of the hoodies. No one walks around with these hoodies on back in, as they did back in the times when, clans was being okay.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I was just saying, is like the way that they're getting introduced to these notions of the history. They're not getting told that, oh, they thought like this, so they were the bad guy. This is why they were the bad guy.
Right. They were like, ooh, this cool.
Right.
We
exactly.
love it.
So, and then they look, it's just like right now, I just shared a meme on Facebook where it was pretty much, Ice, the Ice villain in Batman. I forgot his name. Iceman, not Iceman. Dr. Snow. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Dr. Frost. Dr. Frost. And it was also Poison Ivy. And the narrative that they spent on it was so intriguing. Poison Ivy was trying to regrow the forest in the world, that's what she was trying to do. And Dr. Frost was trying to cool the world down. And as we know, climate change right now, we kind of need that right now. So why was the rich multi-billionaire trying to stop them?
For growth.
For money, for more money. Of course, he would be the police of the comic industry. He's the police. You can't even say Superman is the police. Superman is a superhero from another planet. But Bruce Wayne put on a uniform that gave him special privileges to do what the fuck he wanted to do, because he said he was fighting crime.
Ah, you sure right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I like that.
But this is exactly how they teach history. They teach that as if we're reading the Batman comic book. Batman is the hero.
Right.
And the fucked up part
facade. It's always going to be a facade because they're never going to want to own up. It's always to make themselves look good.
Yeah.
To look good. And that's just part of history. That's why, and I was just saying this to someone not that long ago. If they take from our generation, because we're from a different generation than our children and our grandchildren that are coming up, but if you take our generation and set us down and take a history test according to the history that they're now trying to teach children,
yes,
we would fail because none of it is true.
None of it. Did you, speaking on that, I didn't know that they always change the 7 wonders of the world.
Absolutely,
the 7 wonders of the world. Oh, yeah. Our generation is completely different than what it is today.
Yes. Because it's not beneficial.
Right.
To
apparently.
those. And anyone that is trying to stop and make you be aware of climate control, of us polluting the world that we have to live off of, it's always about a means of someone losing money. So you don't want us to be naturally healthy. You want us to be chemically dependent. Mm-hmm. So if it's not making dollars, it doesn't make sense when it comes to their level.
This is why we have to be careful about what's going into our children's ears, because I feel like if these children would have been taught the proper context of what really went down, history, real history. If they was actually taught that, then we will be able to actually show them how to view current problems.
Right.
Because I actually came up with this. This is the idea that I came up with. It's called SBC, Students About Change. And the concept of it is that they come up with a creative art form. Whether it be a song, whether it be a poem, whether it be a novel, whether it be a short story, whether it be any kind of creative literature art, any literary art, that whatever they want to use. But they pick a problem that they see in the world and they tell us how they would solve it. And using that art form. So if he want to rap about it, he could come out there rapping about how he would stop world hunger. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much just put out all the corporations. That's how you stop world hunger. But anyways, in distribution, the distribution, that's the only thing you should be worried about. Anyways, or if they wanted to make a novel, like a literary novel, a fable or something about, curing AIDS or something like that. You know what I'm saying? How they would go about doing that. That would be entered into this contest. You know what I'm saying? We'll get some judges. God bless her soul. I wish Maya Angelou was still here. But we got, what's the youngest poet laureate ever?
She's the one that did Barack
for Barack Obama.
Obama.
What's her name? But no, we'll figure out her name because she'll be a perfect judge. You know what I'm saying? And we get these people that has accolades such as her. You know, and get them to judge these different literary arts. And not only judging, but every last one of them should be inputted into the United States database where they should be looking at whenever they have these think tanks. You know, about how to solve any current problem that they come across. Go back to the church.
Amanda Gorman.
Gorman.
Yeah, that's what
Amanda Gorman. Get her to be able to, you know what I'm saying, judge these. I'm pretty sure there's other great literary artists out there, you know what I'm saying, that deserve they flowers now because, you know, we are bad at giving them to them.
Absolutely.
I don't even understand why you even do that. They're never going to know. I mean, I guess it's for their legacy, you know, their seeds and people around them. So,
but,
you know, it's better to give them while they're alive.
And see, my thing is, with students about change, it starts with the next generation. It don't. The
But
adults
does it
are stuck.
necessarily start with the next generation? Does it not start with the generation that starts before them, even if it's late in realization of what they've done is wrong?
Ooh, I love that question because simple fact, yes, it does start with them because if that generation that before them don't get it in their head that they need to fix this by dealing with the next generation, then yeah, we are just passing the cycle along to the next generation and it will be just like the generation before that generation. So yes, it does actually it has to start with the generation of adults right now who are raising children that are going to college, going to high school, going to junior high. And this is why the parents of those white children have failed them, whether they raised them to believe that racism was okay, or whether they raised them saying that if we don't talk about racism, then they won't grow up racist.
That part.
So now we have to deal with this issue in 2022, an issue that we dealt with already in 1963. We told y'all. You had your own people tell y'all it was already wrong to lynch a black boy, to tase, to harass a black boy because he's black.
And it's funny you say that because in the charges of these two white boys, the Refugio County locals, those of you who aren't familiar with Texas, or those of you who aren't familiar with refugio or refugio, there's hardly any melanated people or black people there.
Yeah.
You have a sprinkle, you know, I could be wrong, but it's not too many. And their justification of the way the Woodsboro hate crime is, they said kids were just being kids.
I remember that.
So
I remember
again,
that in another case.
This is something learned. This is something that they either think it's cool or they know it's not cool, but they're going to do it anyway because that's how they truly feel inside. And then when they do get caught, if they were to get caught, they're going to play the innocent, I didn't know any better, we were just funning, you know, that card. You know, they can even pull the PWT card. You know, how people say, oh, you got the black card. It works the same way with poor white people. You know, so, or with rich people.
And it's funny, I used to hear about the poor white trash narrative a lot.
Yep.
And being from Georgia, you know, you really see a lot of that, you know, especially when you travel outside of Atlanta. And it's not funny because that's not that to laugh about. I'm old now. I'm a grown up now. I don't need to be doing that still. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me get it out. Okay. I'm sorry. I just don't understand how y'all fumble y'all white privilege bag. How the fuck? First of all, let me address that so I can get it out my system. How the fuck did you fumble your white privilege bag? Okay, so now that's out my system. All right, so now, but you know, we used to go around these areas because, you know, that's where the drugs were. That's where we really wanted to get some big drugs and take them back into the metropolitan area and sell them for fucking expense out the ass, over triple. If at least it has to be at least triple. So we go there and they don't know what kind of a gold mine they're sitting on, and it is just funny how they still get used against us in a political in a political realm. You don't want these black people to take your jobs. That was in the olden days. Now is so totally different. You can't even recognize it.
It's always been about levels of social acceptance. So they're going to use, as they say, their poor white trash. Yeah, I mean, they have to have somebody to blame after they've done blaming us. And they have to have an ace in the hole, so to speak. So they're going to have those poor white trash, as they call them, or those country people that live off grid, right, to be able to do, just like when we had the whole election. You know, Trump went out and he found people that don't see society. Right.
Man, I mean, and if you're going to be an American, right? But another thing that I feel like we have to understand, especially as black people, we have to come to the actual understanding that there are two different Americas. There's the republic and then there's the democracy. And with that, you understand exactly where you stand at when you stand in reference to your state. So when we come back, we're going to actually break down a little bit more about what the society has for you. Because if you don't, then what you're going to do is you're going to end up falling very victim to the contracts that the society, that the democracy has set up for you. So hopefully when we come back, we'll be able to, get on that. And I just want to ask y'all for a favor. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and follow whatever you listening to us on, because we are on in all your favorite streaming services. So make sure y'all can go ahead and follow, like, and subscribe. And if you can, go ahead and reach out to all your family, all your friends, and make sure that they go ahead and follow us as well, because this is information that they really, really do need to be able to utilize. This is not just hearsay. This is technology that you're listening to. Applied knowledge, applied science. You know what I'm saying? So make sure that y'all follow us and share us. And also, we have plenty of the different shows. Go check out our Revolutionary Hour show. But when we come back, we're going to talk more about, exactly what the paradigm of being black is in America and why the United States government wants to call me white.
EOSS Radio.
So the people can feel it. You got to pay for what you weigh. Texas call it the trip. Tennessee to Alabama, Mississippi, MIA. You can't talk about the dirt unless you mention the A. Pay my dues in the game. Now the people know my name, cause I do it for the betty. You can have the damn fame. Never dealing with a lame. Do business with real G's. If it ain't 100 proof, get the fuck away from me. Ricky Ross be the boss. T.I.P. be the king. Lincoln Hayes be the coolest you ever seen. I ain't sipping on lean, ain't snooping a damn line. Come and holler at me, Snoop. We can blow some Georgia pine. I know it's my time and I ain't feeling there, nigga. Ain't no cure for what I got, cause I'm feeling this way sicker. Get the bitch, I'm bitch, nigga. My nuts is heavy hanging. Feeling my own shit and this motherfucker banging. Beating down your block, you can hear my speakers kicking. My trunk got the knock, everybody at attention saying who the fuck is that? Cause that nigga shit banging. I do this for the hood, I ain't motherfucking playing. Beating down your block, you can hear my speakers kicking. My trunk got the knock, everybody at attention saying who the fuck is that? Cause that nigga shit banging. I do this for the hood, I ain't motherfucking playing. From the bottom to the tippy, I put on in every city. And soon as the beat drop, boppers popping out they titties. I do this for my people, I do it for every hood. Even do it for my niggas, always up to no good. Put some draw up in the air and show a feeling some love. You know I'm buying out the bar when I'm up in the club. Keep on hearing around the blocks, you ain't feeling the kid. Now I'm feeling on your woman and she feeling up with this. She back it up and drop it, grip the hips and then I cock it. Making you the weakest link, ain't nothing you can do to stop it. Bitch, you niggas out of pocket. You ain't feeling me, then fuck ya. I represent the realer, not you pussy motherfuckers. Let me slow it down a minute like I'm screwing up the track. No, my name ain't Joe, but I can make them lean back. Got a pocket full of stacks, a swisher full of skunks. Feel me beating down your block. Got them kickers in the trunk, boy. Beating down your block, you can hear my speakers thinking. My trunk got the knock, everybody at attention saying, who the fuck is that? Cause that nigga shit banging. I do this for the hood, I ain't more fucking playing. Beating down your block, you can hear my speakers thinking. My trunk got the knock, everybody at attention saying, who the fuck is that? Cause that nigga shit banging. I do this for the hood, I ain't more fucking playing.
Beating down your block, I can make the speakers knock. Come and see me for that fire. No, I keep it real tight all night. If you're feeling me, throw your hands in the sky, keep them high. It's that good shit, you know that hood shit. All my niggas say, oh, all my ladies to the floor. 'Cause I'm coming back for more, and I ain't done. I'm just getting started, so respect my shit, and I'ma make hits with Soul Star Entertainment.
BOSS Radio.
This is different.
Julian Lennon. Let the truth be told. Why? Only the elite gon' know what I'm speaking of. The rest of you motherfuckers just blind. It ain't my fault, no.
All right. Court is now in session. The Honorable Uncle Sam presiding. United States versus Julian Lennon. You may be seated.
Hard times seems to call for desperate measures. Life is a struggle, can't fold under pressure. Bear with me for a moment, I'ma give you an example. Obama asked for a little more than he can handle. Wake up, smell the coffee. The government's a scandal. Pull the wool over your eyes with television and lies. Why they lie? Gift the gap, politics as usual. Open up the minds of my niggas on the app. Yellow tape crackers got the roadblock. Another black teen outlined in white chalk. It's not about color, people blind to the facts. If you really knew the laws, you would know how to react. I'm never scared to say the shit you niggas won't say. It's like we all headed for doomsday. Armageddon holding tight to my weapon. We crossing remedy, this shit is killing me. Silk purses. Open your eyes, this ain't the designer version. Silk purses. Open your eyes, this ain't the designer version. Open up your mind, maybe then you'll see. Money makes the world go round, either your wolf or your sheep. Silk purses. Open your eyes, this ain't the designer version. No disrespect, I gotta put some things in check. It's not God's design to marry the same sex. To my daughter Jalen, baby, I truly love you. How do I explain to your mom's in love with a woman? Bobbing to Sam Cooke, it's been a long time coming. Do we really know the value of American money? We in debt to the same corporation that we under. Blowing money overseas while our veterans hungry. God bless the souls in heaven, flight 9/11. Before we die, Aaron Russo answered that question. Sat down with Rockefeller, now they buying FEMA camps. Never sign a dotted line, your signature's a stamp. They say the worst is yet to come. Martial law in effect, I'm praying for Ferguson. If the people knew the truth, America's really cursed. Fuck the judge, I'm claiming my silk purse. Silk purses. Open your eyes, this ain't the designer version. Silk purses. Open your eyes, this ain't the designer version. Open up your mind, maybe then you'll see. Money makes the world go round, either your wolf or your sheep. Silk purses. Open your eyes, this ain't the designer version.
The defense attorney, Donna West, is trying to take down her credibility in this particular exchange now.
And that's because he described him as a creepy-ass cracker?
Yes.
So it was racial, but it was because Trayvon Martin put race in this.
No.
You don't think that's a racial comment?
No.
You don't think that creepy-ass cracker is a racial comment?
No.
The ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one-world government, run by the banking industry, run by the bankers. Right? There'll be no more cash. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. He's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event. He never told me what the event was going to be. But there was going to be an event. And there's going to be this war on terror, of which there's no real enemy. And the whole thing is a giant hoax, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people. 9/11 was done by people in our own government and our own banking system to perpetuate the fear of the American people into subordinating themselves to anything the government wants them to do. That's what it's about. And to create this war, this endless war on terror.
BOSS Radio.
Already. Yes. You already know this is your boy, Mr. E Boss of the Southside Bosses, and we live back here in the studio with my beautiful co-host, Miss E Squared in the building.
What's up?
We have a great guest in the building. We're gonna call her Cats.
Cat.
Already. So no, I just wanted to make sure, you know what I'm saying, when we come with the knowledge that I'm about to break down, it's real hard to actually accept it, but we're going to go this route with it. Let's say in this scenario, the same thing happens with the young black teenager that we just discussed with the two white boys harassing them. Let's go back to actually Abraham Lincoln days before he was a president. And if you look back in his history, you'll find he was a lawyer for a man named William Dungy, where William Dungy had to pretty much, he had to defend himself against the accusations that he was a Negro. Now this is funny because in that time, to be Negro, black, colored, or anything like that, you weren't really allowed to be in the state of Illinois at that time period. This is when slavery was still, obviously because, Abraham Lincoln ain't the president. He's a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? So this man who looks like a Negro, because he was a dark melanated man from Portugal. That's where his roots tied back to, was in Portugal. He looked just like the normal so-called African American, the so-called black person, the so-called Negro, the so-called nigger, the so-called colored person.
Niggas.
And when you look at this man and you want to say that this is how it all came up. He was married to this man named Joseph Spencer's sister. And they got into what they call a family altercation even up to this day. And in that family altercation, Joseph Spencer felt like he was so disrespected that he felt like that he wanted to do something so insidious to Mr. William Dungy that he started to tell everybody that he was a Negro, he was black, he was colored, he was a nigger. And in the instance of him doing that, he actually, later on came out in the case, he broke the law of defamation. You're not supposed to say anything about somebody that's not true, that can harm their reputation and harm their freedom, harm their physical being, anything that will harm you. You're not supposed to say that. And even though he looked like William Dungy looked like he was melanated. He even had roots that went into Portugal, but from there into Africa, he was still considered a white man. And this is by the ending of that case. And if the jury, because it was a jury trial, he was brought up in front of his peers who were actually of all different races. And they found through the evidence, even though he looks like a Negro, he's not a Negro. And with that case being brought to light, you have to ask yourself, well, what the hell is a Negro then if it ain't got nothing to do with my skin color? If it ain't got nothing, being black has nothing to do with my skin color, what the hell does it actually have to deal with? Well, when you look into the laws of that time that Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer, you'll find out that pretty much the laws stipulated that black people weren't allowed to have certain privileges upon that was based off of United States law. And the reason for that was they didn't want the United States to actually push black people to a point of self-sufficiency, but to where they would have to contract with the white people of Europe, the white hybrid Europeans, the white hybrid Albions. They had to contract with them in order to be able to make a living in the United States. This is why you have a lot of laws that establishes who is allowed to marry who. White men were allowed to marry black women, but black men weren't allowed to marry white women, and there was a reason for that. So with the laws being said that a black person could not do certain things, how do you trap a person in that? You get them labeled as black. But if some people are not allowed to be black simply because they were from different portions of the earth, that means that they was only trying to label the people who were snatched from West Africa as black, so that they wouldn't be seen as human. Didn't matter about your skin complexion. So as you see, there is so many different laws out there that would insinuate that there is a greater scheme at play here, and why people are allowed to torment people who are labeled black and get away with it. Because simply the black Christian codes that came out in the 1800s never were abolished. So anybody who's labeled black would be considered inhuman. You know, what they call that 3/5 drop?
Right.
You're not a human.
3/5 of drop of black blood, you're considered black.
So if you're not in the human family, then that means you are an animal.
Mm-hmm. You are property.
You are property.
That is the way that it is stated, is that we were considered property.
Exactly. Now, you know the funny part. I had an article about. I read about this about a few years, several years, about 2 decades now. Damn, I'm old. Anyways, in that article I was reading about reparations. Do you know that I didn't know this, and I had to read the contract of the Emancipation Proclamation, the way that it was rewritten after Abraham Lincoln. Do you know that there was reparations paid?
Of course, and then not everyone got them.
Yeah. Who got them?
The slave owners.
The slave owners, because if we were property.
Thank you.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me turn y'all mic on and turn mine off because y'all got it. Go ahead. What was that again?
The slave owners.
Yeah.
And why?
Because we're property.
We were property. So if the slave owners already got the reparations because they had lost their property, and their property, since it was still property, because if they lost their property, that means somebody else has their property, right? Obviously, who is it that has their property? The state. Everything you have to do is through the state. You have to get your driver's license through the state. You have to get your car through the state. You have to do your business through the state. That is already your transportation and your way of maintaining your sustaining your whole life right there. Not only that, but you got to get married through the state. You have to go to court through the state. You have to do everything through the state, because what you have now been transferred is property from the slave owners to the states. So that is the whole purpose of declassifying yourself. That's what I like to call it. The Moors call it nationalizing. I am a Moor, yes, but I do call it declassifying, because all you have been done is classify in a United States corporation, a United States system. Let's take the corporation out. The government is still a system. And in that system, you have been classified as a label that is used to be treated as anything they want to be treated as, because they classified it as that. And if you have signed those contracts to be owned by them up under that classification, they can do whatever they want with you. Hence, this is why, the white boys are going to get hit with a hate crime. Cool. But
what about the girl? Has anybody even talked about her?
You know why?
Is she getting hit with the hate crime?
That's a good,
or the other 3 people?
Good question. And I'm sorry, but after I say this, I'm going to have to play my disclaimer. She's a minor, and with a minor being a minor, we're not allowed to talk about her. So with that being said, please give me 64 seconds to tell you why we can't say that. BOSS Radio, Southside Bosses, its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show host or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the site or the radio station, and opinions between talk show hosts may conflict. This site does not endorse anything as the truth. That you will have to judge for yourself. But we try to speak the truth on the owner's behalf and reserve the right to question the supposed truth. In this time of misinformation, government-controlled media, and government corruption, it is sometimes hard to get to the truth, but we must try. It is not our intention to libel, discriminate, make hate, or annoy anyone. We believe that it is our constitutional First Amendment right of free speech to voice our opinions and our duty to the Constitution and country to expose the truth. This site takes no responsibility for the opinions of others.
Actually, Milton first off.
And this is exactly why we try to, protect everybody that comes on our podcast. Certain things they do not allow you to talk about. And in this case, since she's a minor, they won't allow the news to talk about her and what's going on with her. But I do remember there was something going on like right before or before I moved to Corpus, something like that. And I got the skinny on it now. So we're going to let Katz tell that story right now. Can you remind me, can you retell that story that you were just telling us?
Similar situations, but kind of different. The 3 young men and a young minor lured a pizza delivery guy to an abandoned house, and they beat him up, put this guy in a wheelchair. He was fighting for his life, but when it was all said and done, everybody turned state evidence on the minor to get lesser time. Even though the minor was involved, the minor ended up getting more time than the boys that were actually of age.
Wow. That part I didn't know.
Yeah, he actually got 35 years.
And the race of these people, they were classified as what?
African American, as they would say in the States, but they were black.
Yeah, see.
But the pizza delivery guy, Hispanic, these were all of people of color.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the thing. They tell you that these are people of color, but what they don't tell you is that Hispanics don't go by brown.
Exactly.
Hispanics don't go. They know exactly where
they go by
come
Caucasian.
From. Yeah, they
do.
can. They can go by Caucasian. You know why?
Or non-Hispanic.
This is exactly why I wanted to get into that, because Hispanics can go by non-Caucasian, non-Hispanic or white, or Hispanic, and this is the reason why. When you look at their name, they give their classification. Hispanic, his Spanish slave. That's pretty much where the notion came from. They are interbred with the Spaniards that actually enslaved the Central American coast of that peninsula. Excuse me.
That's why there's always so much diversion between Latin cultures in general. Very much so.
Yeah. Exactly. Like if you go, you better not call a Puerto Rican a Mexican.
Oh no,
absolutely not.
Those are cuss words.
Do you have your grave picked out, your tombstone, your life insurance, your kids taken care of? If you got all of that taken care of, and you ready
those
to
are
go,
fighting words for real. Death words.
The same way.
You're not going to do that. And the reason for that is because the stories of what happened when the people came to that land. A lot of people they think it's a racist. No, it's with the simple fact that the light-skinned Hispanics that that comes from Mexico are really Spanish. They're Spanish descendants. They're not really the actual Central Americans or the Central Americans that was there in the very beginning when they got colonized in the first place. So you have this division between it, because when you go to Dominican Republic or what's the other one? Dominican Republic. No, it's just Dominican Republic. You find white people and black people that born and raised in the Dominican Republic. But if you look at their actual ancestry, you'll find out that the actual inhabitants of the Dominican Republic, which were a part of the same Taino race that was on Puerto Rico originally, wiped out. So that's why you have black and white Dominican Republicans, because it's a fact. England has, they don't even know this, dark skinned and light skinned English people. You go to the UK, you go walk down London, and you got this black dude, you thought he was black, but he come down talking more white than the Queen. Like, God damn. Okay. He interpreting everything for your ass down here. His style, his culture is of what you would consider a white culture, because that's what you've been exposed to. You wasn't exposed to the fact that there are melanated Europeans. Matter of fact, the original Europeans were melanated. The original Romans were melanated. The original Greeks, they came from North Africa. They were melanated. So this is why you have to take evolution and like, I don't know how people see it. It's a lot of people. It's a division out there. And I hope I have everybody's permission to just go on a little tangent right now, because I think this is something that has to be brought up. There are two types of people in the world. Actually three, but you have two main ones. You have religious people. They are the biggest ones in the world. You have religious people, and they are the people who have been taught by their teachers all their life, so they are diehard about their beliefs, not about the knowledge that they've already attained, but about their beliefs, which sometimes is rooted in knowledge, sometimes, most of the time it's not. But you also have people who are scientific. They think that there's no God, that there's only science, and science will explain everything. Science is a breakdown. Anyway, science won't explain everything, but the science will get us to know everything eventually. What we have to understand is that everything isn't one-dimensional. Nothing is one-dimensional. That's why you have a spirit. That's why you have a mind. That's why you have a body. You know what I'm saying? It's three-dimensional at best. I mean, not at best, at least. Six-dimensional at best, because we have six senses. But when you understand that maybe science is how the Creator did it all. We talk about the Big Bang. Maybe that's how God did it all. Or the Most High did it all. Or Allah did it all. Or Yahweh did it all. Or Jehovah did it all. Maybe that is how he did it. Or maybe that's how she did it. So when we look at that, you can actually start thinking about that the knowledge that you kick down to your children is what they actually are going to grow on. So when you teach them that in the Bible, God said white people is going to rule everything, or when you don't teach them anything, they can interpret it as whatever they want. And as you see in this case, they my fault. No, I ain't gonna lie. I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, I know I was going with that. They can interpret it the way they want to interpret it, and then they're going to enact it in any way that they want to enact it. Pretty much.
I still think those are cop-outs.
What cop-out?
If someone came and really said that, like they were trying to say, oh, kids are just being kids, or they didn't know any better. Like you're saying, being taught or not being taught.
Right.
And it's like Kat said, even if you didn't teach them at home, they're going to learn it somewhere.
That's what I mean.
So these are excuses.
No, yeah, that's a total excuse. Yeah, that's a total excuse. And I agree with that. They're going to pick it up somewhere. So they had to get that interpretation somewhere. And if you didn't...
It's just funny to me how that people, whenever they're caught doing something inhumane, then you want to say, oh, I didn't know, I wasn't taught, or, you know, these children, now they're somewhat as a victim.
Right.
And now this young black man that has lost his life, and any of the thousands of hundreds of thousands that have lost their lives over the years, hundreds of years, now they become the victim, and now you victimize the victim. What it all boils down to is that these people did something that was inhumane. Whether they got the knowledge from their parents, whether they got it from social media, whether this is something that's been sickly running through their minds. Justice is built for them. That's why we have laws. Going back to everything that you said, all the laws were built to maintain the fact that you can be inhumane to someone that does not look like you, mostly to those that carry the melanated skin. Reason, those are the people that taught you from the very beginning. They keep telling us in history, oh, everyone that was a slave came from Africa. That is a lie.
Big one.
We have been, meaning people of brown complexion, people that were from Africa, people that were the original people, have been traveling all over the world since the beginning of times, and we have settled in different areas. Native Americans, we are Native American.
Yes.
That's why when you ask a lot of people of color, where are you from? Oh, well, I may be Choctaw or Cherokee or Sioux or Shawnee, because that is true. That is where their roots started from. And they have been here the entire time.
Precisely, but if you're going to be able to steal something from somebody, what's the best way to steal it from them? You make them forget they even owned it.
Exactly.
Right.
So if they don't even know that they are the indigenous people, then they are not going to fight for what is really there. That's why they gave them Liberia. Because, oh, you want to go back to Africa? Oh, shit, you want to get off the land we took from you? Oh, we gonna help you out. And we still gonna own that shit too.
Right.
But,
you don't necessarily get it all the way back.
But this is that's what I mean, like exactly what I'm saying in this case. When history is not taught in its proper context, you have so many misinterpretations, and the best one we just came up with, so-called African Americans, so-called black people do not know that they are originally from this land. This land broke off of West Africa, and it is West Africa. It is the Al-Maghrib. It is the far west. Al-Marik Al-Qasa. Al-Marik. I forgot that. It's not the Michael Jackson song.
I'm gonna say.
No, that ain't that one. But it's a song. I'm gonna play it for. I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna play it for you every time I do Revolutionary Hour, because it is a song that talks about the Al-Maghrib Al-Qasa, and that is the extreme west. We have been coming to the extreme west since the days of Mansa Musa's brother. They was finding cocaine in the Egyptian mummy's hair. How was they finding cocaine? Cocaine is grown in South America. It is processed in South America. But yet they found it in the Egyptians' mummies, in plenty of Egyptian mummies' hairs. That's the messed up part. It wasn't just this one. They was having fucking coke parties like Bill Cosby was having Quaalude parties.
Wow.
I still don't think he raped that girl.
No, I don't either, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's another.
Right.
Anyway.
But that goes back to where we are right now. That it takes one person to say that something has happened. You know, the Tulsa Massacre, I lived in Tulsa for over 10 years. And when I didn't realize the land that I was standing on, the souls that were lost there because of a white woman that said. And then turns around years later and recants her story so that she can clear her conscience before she dies, and said that it was a lie.
And you know the messed up part about that whole story? The whole messed up part about that whole story is that, do you know they don't even teach about the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
They don't teach about it at all, really.
And that goes back to you're not going to teach your children that you were an animal, that you were a murderer, that you are a rapist, that you are the thief, the original thief. So you're not going to teach them that. That's why they keep trying to change history right now. And I get so upset when I hear these people constantly say, oh, well, you do. No, I don't want to hear that crap. So you're going to whitewash, not just brainwash like you've been doing for time and time again over the centuries, but you're going to also whitewash the history so that you can recreate something that's this beautiful America?
Preach.
Yep. That's how it's
Think
supposed to
not. Tell the truth and shame it all.
Thank you.
Land of the
that's
free,
how
home
we
of the
move.
brave.
That's how you move forward. Because if you would have told these white boys from the very jump that it was wrong, that history was wrong, history, the way that it was written, is not for the victor, but it's for the victim.
Mm-hmm. But have they not?
They have.
Or are those the same ones for those freedom rides that got bombed just like the rest of our brothers and sisters that are out there that are trying to spread the knowledge and give equality? So you're going, and that goes back to the trailer park people. Mm-hmm. We're going to keep you right here,
right,
so we can have something to fall back on and only use you when we need you to use you. But in the same token, we're going to whitewash and brainwash as long as we go.
Exactly. They have to clean up their image, and I'm sorry, and I am not trying to bring up the V, because we don't want the V is like absolutely not. We trying to get away from that, because they gonna flag me and be like, hey, red flag on the plate. We're gonna have to challenge your shit. But that's why I believe that with the current political atmosphere, the V has actually been. That's why people of color have not jumped on it. You know, and I know we say we got a better president than that now. I'm sorry. I know we say I'm sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face. Okay, now I know that people say we got a better president than that right now, but at the same time, though, the B rate in the black community has not really budged that much. It budged, but it ain't budged that much. This goes to show you that there's still some kind of underlying mistrust with the perpetrators that are still allowed to rule the world. I mean, how you gonna tell Iran you can't have a nuclear plant or anything? I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand the politics behind it, but how you gonna tell them and they listen?
But that's the problem of the United States, is they've always been the biggest bullies. You go and the sad part, it's even the saddest part of this all, is that you're going to go to other countries and tell them how to run their own country, but yet you have hungry people right here. You have homeless people right here. So you're not practicing any biblical, whether it's through your Bible or whether your spiritual beliefs. You're not practicing any of that. Because you got to take care of home before you can go out there and take care of anybody else. But you're going to be that bully that you've always been, and you're going to go over there and you're going to tell them what they can and cannot do on their lands, but you can't take care of what's happening in your own backyard.
Exactly. And the thing about it is that nothing they actually do would be considered, I mean, unless you talk about fulfilling prophecy or whatever, however they want to go through it. But they don't really do anything that's actually biblical. That's what we was actually talking about today on TikTok. So y'all make sure y'all go check out TikTok at BOSS Radio. You know what I'm saying? And make sure that you're also, we're going to be doing this in the coming Revolutionary Hours. We want to do this book reading course. Well, and I'm not talking about just any book. We're not going to be just getting I had a book in my mind and then it went away. But anyways, it's not going to be just any old book. The first book that we're going to be doing, I want to find people who actually read 48 Laws of Power. The reason why is because 48 Laws of Power, we break that down. Any other book that we find after that will be utilized, will be seen through that light. Because we have to actually understand what happened to us. If we don't understand what happened to us, how can we fix it? We over here got AIDS and we over here fixing cancer. You know, and I hate to say it like that.
There's a cure for all of it.
That. Yep. And they killed the man that told us about it.
Come on now.
But we ain't supposed to talk. Oh, you know, that is a good podcast right there. Yeah. Because you know they are really, really campaigning against Sabi right now. They're campaigning, and I know that people want to say that Nipsey Hussle had a documentary coming out, and now it's not. But it's deeper than that.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of things that are deeper with that. But, you know, it goes, there's a lot of deep subjects that we can get into that prevents people from being able to know the knowledge that they should know. And there is also, you know, knowledge that's out there that it pertains just as what we're talking about. It goes at a deeper level. When you have those higher entities, you know, Illuminati, things of such matter, that will control the laws, it's always going to be rewritten. And there's always going to be those disclosures, those little bitty laws are in behind those laws that you can't change. And if you change them, it doesn't necessarily mean that that law has exactly changed.
Exactly.
I mean, people don't realize that it's still against the law to spit on the sidewalk. You could be hung for that. It's still an active law in the state of Texas.
Oh, yeah. And you could be hung for stealing somebody's horse.
Exactly.
And this is the funny part they don't tell you is that I'm bombing over here. I'm sorry, y'all. Maybe I was about to say something I wasn't supposed to say, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. The energy is strong in here. The energy's strong right now because that damn is about motherfucking nowhere. But
ancestors are just trying to help along the conversations to give their 2 cents.
Right.
But we will leave.
Right.
And we are at the hour and 5 minute warning, so maybe that was what they were telling us.
Exactly.
So, but with that being said, I want everybody out there to understand y'all laws that pertain to your life. Because simple fact, if you don't, then they're gonna run any game they want on you.
Mm-hmm.
They got y'all out there paying for your freedoms. You know what I'm saying? They turned your freedoms into privileges, and now they got you paying for them. I just found out that not everybody. You have to have a fishing license if you're a human being.
Right,
exactly.
To go fishing and hunting.
I don't ever remember nature saying, "Hey, you need a fisher license before you come and stick."
But that's where it goes back to capitalizing on what you can charge a fee for. If you take away the basics, just being able to survive in nature, they now charge you to be able to survive. We shouldn't have.
They charge you for rainwater.
Rainwater.
How are you charging me
for
water
something
from
the
God?
Most High gives to you abundantly? How are you going to charge me for something that I can go out there and fish and hunt from? Those are your basic skills, survival skills of life. So when you take them away from them, you are now dependent upon the government. So you got to go to a grocery store. You got to get this prepackaged food that's going to give you cancer.
Yes.
That's going to clog up your arteries. That's going to clog up your digestive system. So now you're taking thousands of medications to be able just to go to relieve yourself and get up and wake up and be able to move in the morning. What are we doing?
Exactly. And I couldn't have said it better. You know what? I think that should be how we end it. Yes, you go catch cats on here more often.
Bring me back. I'm happy to be a guest.
Definitely gonna love to have you back on here. Because you can't get no more uncut than that. I hope y'all actually understand it and go look it up. Just find out for yourself, because we ain't taking nobody's word for it. Trust me on that.
Absolutely.
Y'all doing that with Lucky Charms. So we're going to go ahead and just take a breather real quick. And when I say a breather, y'all going to catch us on the next episode. This Sunday we got this Saturday.
We're not broadcasting Sunday.
I'm not trying to compete with Super Bowl. Fuck all that. You ain't trying to listen to
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I just found out Pac-Man Jones ain't playing for them no more. I'm sorry, I've been out the loop. COVID kept me out the loop. Pac-Man Jones ain't playing for them no more, so I'm like, you know what? Y'all better make it a good game.
I'm not a fan, but...
No Cowboys!
Cowboys 2024! And on that note, we out!
I give it raw and uncut so the people can feel it. You got to pay for what you weigh. Texas call it the trip. Tennessee to Alabama, Mississippi, MIA. You can't talk about the dirt unless you mention the A. Pay my dues in the game. Now the people know my name, cause I do it for the fatty. You can have the damn fame. Never dealing with a lame. Do business with real G's. If it ain't 100 proof, get the fuck away from me. Ricky Ross be the boss. T.I.P. be the king. Lincoln Hayes be the coolest you ever seen. I ain't sipping on lean, ain't smoking a damn line. Come and holler at me, Snoop. We can blow some Georgia pine. I know it's my time and I ain't feeling that, nigga. Ain't no cure for what I got, cause I'm feeling this way sicker. Get the bitch, nigga. My nuts is heavy hanging. Feeling my own shit and this motherfucker banging. Beating down your block, you can hear my speakers kicking. My trunk got the knock. Everybody at attention saying, who the fuck is that? Cause that nigga shit banging. I do this for the hood, I ain't motherfucking playing. Beating down your block, you can hear my speakers kicking. My trunk got the knock. Everybody at attention saying, who the fuck is that? Cause that nigga shit banging. I do this for the hood, I ain't motherfucking playing. From the bottom to the tippy, I put on in every city. And soon as the beat drop, boppers popping out they titties. I do this for my people, I do it for every hood. Even do it for my niggas, always up to no good. Put some dro up in the air and show a villain some love. You know I'm buying out the bar when I'm up in the club. Keep on hearing around the blocks, you ain't feeling the kid. Now I'm feeling on your woman and she feeling up with this. She back it up and drop it, grip the hips and then I cock it. Making you the weakest link, ain't nothing you can do to stop it. Bitch, you niggas out of pocket. You ain't feeling me, then fuck ya. I represent the realer, not you pussy motherfuckers. Let me slow it down a minute like I'm screwing up the track. No, my name ain't Joe, but I can make them lean back. Got a pocket full of stacks, a swisher full of skunks. Feel me beating down your block, got the kickers in the trunk, boy. Beating down your block, you can hear my speakers kicking. My trunk got the knock, everybody at attention. Saying who the fuck is that? Cause that nigga shit banging. I do this for the hood, I ain't motherfucking playing. Beating down your block, you can hear my speakers kicking. My trunk got the knock, everybody at attention. Saying who the fuck is that? Cause that nigga shit banging. I do this for the hood, I ain't motherfucking playing.
Beating down your block, I can make the speakers knock. Come and see me for that fire. No, I keep it real tight all night. If you're feeling me, throw your hands in the sky, keep them high. It's that good shit, you know that hood shit. All my niggas say, oh, all my ladies to the floor. I'm coming back for more, and I ain't done. I'm just getting started, so respect my shit, and I'ma make hits with Soul Star Entertainment.
BOSS Radio. BOSS Radio. BOSS Radio. BOSS Radio.